Okay.
On the side, that side, usually by the classical
Yeah. Okay. All right. Hey, Maria.
Hey, Lisa.
You ready for the diversity duo?
Sure am.
Let's do this. All right, so Maria, I am very excited for today. So I am going to introduce you to Mr. Dale Harmon. He is currently with the Blue Diamond Growers out in Sacramento, California. Just was out there in October. Beautiful part of the country. Dale has been in procurement, category management. He just changed roles to a new position, so we're going to hear a little bit about that. He's been in procurement for well over 25 years. We're similar age, which is very nice. Nice to have people of similar age on. Appreciate that. A hell of a guy. One of my favorite people to talk to. So I want to introduce Mr. Dale Harmon.
Dale, it's a pleasure to meet you. I hear nothing but good things about you.
Thank you, Maria. It's a pleasure to meet you as well. And I will tell you that this lady next to you, excuse me, will always have a special place in my heart. And I just, as she mentioned, I got to meet her in October, and she was as advertised. I certainly honored to be here, part of this podcast, and I look forward to having some robust conversation and solving most of the world's problems.
I think we're ready for that today because I think, here we are. It's, where are we? February. Happy Valentine's Day,
Happy
my
Valentine's
friends.
Day.
Very nice. Happy Valentine's. So here we are, February 14th, 2025. So much of the world has changed since you and I first met a handful of years ago. I would love to dive into where is supplier diversity headed in your perspective? What do you think is going to coming down the pike to us?
I think as procurement professionals, we expect the unexpected. And I really think that we're built for this. At the end of the day, we are built for this. Our goal, our roles really are to control chaos and to manage change. So from that perspective, I keep up an extremely positive outlook. I think we stay the course, we stay focused, and we stay on task, right?
Love
So
that.
the chaos can happen around us, but realistically, our goals in supporting our organization to secure the best contractors, suppliers, vendors, whatever they may be, that hasn't changed.
That's right.
And so, from that perspective, I don't think our mission, our vision has changed as a core space in the business world. So I'm focused on continuing to find diverse suppliers, uh, including them in RFPs and bringing them to the forefront. Because again, as you and I have discussed so many times, so many times, a diverse supplier is not a non-qualified supplier.
Correct.
It
Correct.
is not a supplier that is less qualified in any way, shape, or form. Because as procurement professionals, we're always seeking the best for our organization. So from that perspective, at the end of the day, nothing is going to change.
So, so you and I have had this conversation, and it's one, Maria. We talk about just how genuinely insulting it is to imply that procurement somehow is making decisions outside of its normal course of action, not considering risk, not considering quality, not considering price, because somehow a diverse supplier is sitting across the other side of the table. So insulting.
It sure is. In the field that I am, I hear that a lot, and nothing is further from the truth.
So,
Correct.
Dale, I didn't kind of give you an opportunity to introduce yourself. I was like, oh, Dale's here. Let's talk supplier diversity. So, but before we do that, I mean, we're on the East Coast. I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about what's happening in California. You're in Sacramento, beautiful city. What's happening there? What's happening in the farming communities? If you could be our eyes and ears out from that side of the world, what's happening?
Sure. We're keeping a close eye on the changes that the current administration has brought. and the challenges that come with that, quite honestly. This state is uh, is an agricultural state. Over 70 agricultural items are grown in California, and we produce crops that feed the world. Fifth largest economy in the world, California. So from that perspective, it's challenging. We've got to navigate and understand how, uh, as an organization, um, we navigate the changes. From an immigration standpoint, we have heard some rustlings of individuals, farm workers being rounded up, but it's been few and far between at this point. So that's good to hear. I'm hoping that we come to some sort of resolution, and the administration can really work with all of the farmers here that are really just trying to not only provide a living, but to secure the financials of the state of California. Right? We've determined that this workforce, this labor force, is important to the health and growth financially of the state. And I think a good portion of those farms have worked to comply with the rules and regulations that guidelines have been passed down federally. And I think we're just going to continue to do that. We're going to continue to focus on supporting those farmers and their farms and the operation of those farms. But heard some accounts of detentions and things of that nature. But for the most part, it's still been fairly calm. So we'll see how that goes. But again, I think even in that space, I think the agricultural community will, come together and do what's best for everyone involved, so that we can continue to be productive.
So I'd love to jump into some labor, and I don't want to put you on the spot to speak for all of California. But what does it look like in a population that is? How do I even want to ask this question? Right? I don't want to doomsday this either. What's going to happen when there are the number of deportations that are being discussed? What is a typical farm going to look like if that were to happen? I mean, you must be talking about this ad nauseum out there.
Yes, and I will tell you, it doesn't completely fall in line with my current role and what I'm doing, but I am, as a procurement professional, we always keep our ears and eyes open to understand what's happening, because it's going to some way, shape, or form affect us. But again, I think at the end of the day, we are going to continue to stay the course, and focus on making sure that the labor is secure. And I can't give you any more than that realistically, because I'm not that deeply involved and entrenched in it.
Sure.
But I know that the governor of the state has determined he's going to work to make sure that we protect that labor in some form or fashion, because at the end of the day, like I said, we are one of the largest economies in the world.
That's
It wouldn't make sense, not only from a state perspective, but a from a country, perspective of our country, from a financial perspective, to start to make these drastic changes without some type of thought process.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. That's interesting.
I'm sure that our listeners would like to know a little bit more about Dale. And I look at your LinkedIn profile and the information you sent to us, and you had a very interesting career. And I would like to know, take us through your career path that led you to become the Procurement Sourcing Manager at Blue Diamond, and what attracted you to this particular role?
That's a great question, Maria. I'm gonna go way back, and I started working at a McDonald's as a kid in downtown Sacramento, and we were robbed on Halloween, and it scared me. I quit that night, and I was out of work. I was 15 years of age, and I quit for 3 months to stop working. And my dad said, "That's enough. You got to go back to work. You're a teenager. Uh, there's a local grocery store. I talked to the manager. He's going to hire you as a courtesy or as a bag boy." And so that's how I started within the grocery industry. And then from there, I just started to look for ways to progress. Uh, Worked on night crews and put my time in, as they say. But then the company I was working for at the time, Albertsons, had a career advancement program, and it was in procurement. And so I started buying groceries for our 50 store Northern California division for Albertsons, and that's how it progressed from there. And I think realistically, when I look back, procurement and sourcing kind of fit with my personality, right? So from the perspective of I want the best deal and I want to negotiate, and I'm going to make sure that I the company or the organization uh, their interest is protected. And so when you start to get into that, I really enjoyed the negotiation aspect. I really enjoyed the purchasing aspect, the sourcing, finding new sources to find products. And then as I moved forward, I met this wonderful lady, and this whole beautiful world of supplier diversity opened up to me, because I was in charge of our supplier relationship management for Blue Diamond. And I started to focus in on helping some of these small companies who were qualified, who had worked to uh, develop their expertise and bring them into the organization to help us continue to flourish as a procurement and sourcing department. So that's my career, my life in a nutshell. I had a brief foray into cannabis, but we'll save that for another podcast. Um, but I will say, at the end of the day, Maria, it's all about growth. I appreciate growth. I am an avid reader. I always want to continue to grow and to learn and to understand, and I'm very inquisitive by nature. And I think procurement and sourcing also ties in with that, because you always you there's no such thing as a status quo when you're in this role in this field. So you always have to be inquisitive, and you always have to continue to look for new ways, better ways to do things and to source things.
Do you mind if I follow up on that? Because I
By
think
all
that's a
means,
great point,
yeah.
Dale. And to me, one of the things that even led to this podcast was my desire to continue to ask questions. And I do believe that came from procurement, right? When you are supposed to write an RFP on something that you have absolutely no idea about, no idea, right? And the only way that your job is to have the people that are in the know spill the beans on every possible thing they can, even when they don't know it's important, because everything can be part of the negotiation, right? And you can't possibly know everything. But to go in and to ask those questions and to drill down, and probably my favorite part. And I think the piece that's most overlooked in procurement, right? When we talk about that emotional intelligence, it's how do you make the connections with your stakeholders? How do you make the connections with your vendors and bringing them together? I love that point.
Yeah, no, I think, and I will tell you, I have learned so much, especially in the space, because I came from a grocery retail space, and now I moved over to Blue Diamond. I was in manufacturing. I'm purchasing equipment. I'm working with contractors to, either build the plant, expand it, or to do different work at the here at Blue Diamond. But some of the things that I learned, um, that I had to, as you said, just be inquisitive, challenge myself, and figure out, okay, I've got this RFP for a DAP system, and that was to make sure that if if the fire department came on site and there was a fire, that they would be able to talk to one another. And I had no information about that, right?
That's right.
So now I'm starting at ground level. I'm putting an RFP together to invite companies, and I have no idea what this means. So that means I had to dig in, I had to research. I remember the project engineer came to me and said, I have no idea what the city of Turlock is asking us to do. And I said, don't worry, I got you. I said, I put the RFP together. I've got the companies, and we have, have a good, solid understanding of what the ask is,
Yep.
and where our price should be. And so you just learn by doing, and that's what I love about this space.
Yeah, and that's, it's really about picking up the phone and calling your connections, right? And saying, this is the assignment, how do I do it? Or what do you know about this? And quick story, I was, this was 2000-ish, and our IT department wanted beepers, pagers. And I said, I don't even know anybody who sells them. So I ended up calling a hospital, and, getting through the procurement teams are pretty difficult. So I ended up driving to a hospital, hunting down somebody in procurement, and until I said, because I thought, who in the world even uses a pager anymore? That was 2000.
Right.
So
Wow.
very funny.
I have a question about suppliers. In your position, what factors and qualities do you look for in a diverse supplier?
I'm always looking for qualified, diverse suppliers, but I'm also looking for suppliers that have a good, strong track record of delivering results. And when I put that RFP together and I ask those questions are leading questions to help me understand how they act, or how they work, what their work product looks like. I also secure those references because I want to know what other companies have said about their work. And so from that perspective, I'm looking to understand what success looks like to them. How do they envision it? How important is our timelines to them, and meeting those timelines? So all of those things are taken into consideration when I'm looking at a diverse supplier. And quite honestly, I will tell you this truthfully, whether they are diverse or not is a lot of times the last thing
That's right.
that I'm interested in, right?
Yep.
I've just put some feelers out for some diverse suppliers, and that's the last thing I'm focused on. As a procurement and sourcing professional, I'm looking to ensure that their qualifications meet what the standards that the job requires. And so I really, Maria, look for who they are, what their work product looks like. I ask everybody to bring me samples of their work, what they've completed in the past, as part of that RFP process. And that's really how I go about that from that perspective. Great question. Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's based on a good evaluation, right? Because it always, and again, a procurement piece that gets overlooked often is, have you identified and weighed correctly all of the requirements that are necessary? Because I believe, and you and I have spoken about this for often, I believe if you are bringing a breadth of people, organizations to the table that are diverse, and I'm not picking a specific diversity, a diverse group of suppliers to the table, and you're then evaluating them all based on the same criteria, and you're then, period, and then additionally, that you're monitoring and scorecarding your supplier base. Because if you're not, then how do you know? The old adage of nobody gets fired for hiring IBM, that's not true anymore. It's just not true, right? And even when we think about what that expression means, it is a scapegoat of a statement, right? It's go and hire one of the top four, right, or the big four, and then hide behind that. Well, it's ABC. It has nothing to do with my performance, right? To me, and you again, we've talked about this, right? What supplier diversity does is it brings a depth and an anti-group think to the table, so that we are looking through the lens of ensuring a connection for everybody. putting together an event and bringing together diverse suppliers. And what does that look like? What does successful Diversity Day look like, where you're welcoming people in, and what have you learned in doing that?
Yeah, we had our inaugural Supplier Diversity Day last year, and you and I worked a lot to help to put that together. So again, thank you for that. But I think one of the things that I appreciated about that event was I went to the stakeholders first, and I said, "What are you looking for? What's coming up in the next 6 months from a project perspective? Are we working on roofs? Are we working on repairing or replacing any type of equipment? What are we specifically working on?" And then I built that supplier diversity day around their needs. So think about it from this perspective. I now have a supplier diversity day where I get to bring individuals in that are potential good candidates for RFPs for our organization, but it's in harmony or contrast with the work that's upcoming. And so from that perspective, it really was exciting to me because I got to bring in people that we needed in a future state for projects that were going to be happening in all three of our plants. And so the day turned out to be really exciting. We brought a little over 20 different companies in. And what I did is I included the stakeholders. And I brought those stakeholders in, our corporate facilities manager, one of our lead engineers, mechanical engineers, and then someone from HR because we had some HR needs as well. And they talked about the process of working with Blue Diamond, what the expectations were, what they wanted from a department perspective, what success looked like. And that really helped them, those diverse companies, understand what Blue Diamond needed. But again, it also helped provide them with a clear understanding of what our expectations were. So although they were diverse suppliers, we weren't watering anything down for them. One of the companies provides roofing services. So we talked about what would be required to repair and replace our roofs on a consistent basis. So we provided the standards that we look for as an organization and said, if you can meet those standards, then we want to include you in those RFPs. It was a really good day. I really got to meet some wonderful people, and we also got to expand our bench strength, right? And I talk about that all the time. And as you both know, we learned the hard way during COVID about bench strength and the lack of bench strength. And in this organization, we were considered essential. So we continued to operate, we continued to work with guidelines within the state and federal guidelines. But man, did we take a punch to the gut when we realized that we had one supplier or two suppliers. And think about it too from if we had a design build firm on, they didn't have enough employees sometimes to work on projects because employees were calling out sick.
Yeah.
And if we had that additional supplier base, right, that had
Yes.
worked under that design build firm, then we would have had resources to continue the projects in the timeline in the manner that we wanted to.
That's right.
So Supplier Diversity Day was exciting for me because it opened up my eyes even more so because I got to see I got to meet the individuals firsthand, to hear about their stories. Everyone got to share their experiences and how they got into this business. They all shared their qualifications, ladies. And so I got to see and hear how they had worked to get to where they were at. And they were all qualified individuals. It was a beautiful day. We will be doing that again this year. And so it was just a great learning experience. And it also, I think the best takeaway of all was that the organization got to see that we were committed to supplier diversity, that we were committed to creating bench strength, that we were committed to bringing in vendors, contractors, and suppliers that were diverse and qualified, and that as a procurement organization, we were prepared to continue working on projects as needed. And so I think we got some really good kudos. We got some really good press internally as an organization. And I think it really helped people understand that our commitment to supplier diversity was strong and it was going to continue.
But and it's economic, right? It's economical to have small and diverse suppliers, because if to your point, if your bench is not packed, and we come into, and I'm not going to say another pandemic, if we come into another event, whatever that event is, and you are left with only suppliers with whom they are bigger than you are, you're not going to win, right? Like,
That is correct.
There's a part of procurement that is a competition against your competitors. If the larger organization is going to make a move on a good or service, you'll lose out on it if you're the smaller supplier, right? If you're my apologies. If you're the smaller company, right? If you're constantly looking for the bigger supplier base, you're not building that allyship when you're building and you're helping organizations grow. And in that act of helping an organization grow becomes a relationship, so that when the rubber hits the road and you need a product or service, they're going to step up because you've been there for them. And
yeah, that's such a great point. I just want to interject quickly is that the other thing that we learned is, we may have been top priority with some of these companies pre-COVID, but once COVID happened, we got, and I'll be frank and say we got B and C players, maybe D and E players, right? So we got people from their organizations that weren't, either that they were new to the organization or they weren't at the level that we were accustomed to from a service perspective. What better way than to say, you know what we'd rather you do is utilize some of our diverse suppliers who are going to give us their A players and who understand how we operate, and we'll still continue moving forward in the way that we want to move forward. So just from that perspective, that's a great point, Lisa.
I wanna ask you about, given your extensive expertise across different sectors, what are some of the lessons you've learned in procurement, in supply chain, that you are applying to your position now with Blue Almond?
Blue Diamond.
I will tell
Blue
you.
Diamond. What did I say?
Blue Almond. That's okay.
Blue Almond. Well, let's, hey, that could work.
That could, we're starting the rebrand.
started a new brand.
Maria started it. I will tell you the biggest thing for me that I've learned is that relationships matter.
Love that.
In this space, relationships matter. And I take this relationship with this lovely lady, Lisa, right here, right? She has helped me not only with supplier diversity, but with in other avenues connect. She's one of my mavens that I gravitate to. But at the end of the day, Maria, I think building strong, consistent relationships is vitally important to any procurement organization. And a true procurement sourcing professional understands that and works to create an environment of building strong, solid relationships. I think it's the number one thing that we do every day when we're researching, when we're looking for avenues to complete a project. We are building relationships. A project is not going to be successful unless you've developed strong relationships. And that's both internally and externally. Those relationships are paramount.
Can we dive into category management? Because I think
Please.
that's category management to me sits right there with supplier relationship management, right? Because to what you're saying, a good SRM, whether it's a tool or whether it's your people, and And I think from kind of a mentor-mentee relationship, if you are assisting kind of the next generation of procurement people in building out that understanding on relationship and supplier relationship management and how to do that dance. Can we bring this back to category management for 1 second, right? So I'd love to hear how that aligns with your thoughts around career path and what makes a good category manager, a good procurement person.
Yeah, I think so much of what we talk about, procurement, sourcing, category management, all tie in together, right? The paths are very similar, but also in some aspects very distinct, because category management now is more, from my perspective, the way I see it is more analytical, right? Now you're digging in and diving into the data. You are verifying that these decisions that you're making for the organization are accurate and that we're heading down the best path or taking the best course of action, and whatever that case may be. Category management, I will tell you, I learned it in the grocery space. Everything in a grocery store is measured and analyzed to death and or life, however you look at it. But the experience I got from a grocery perspective from category management helped me to understand uh, really the importance of that data, but how to analyze it in a way that was beneficial, because you can get awash in so much information and data, but at the end of the day, there is a, how would I say, a nexus where that information comes together and you start to see patterns and how things work, and and from a grocery perspective, what moves the customer. We used to have this phrase, if you were bringing something to the front page of the ad, where every department was fighting for their ad space, and so uh, my boss would always say, you you got to bring something that's got to get them off the couch. You got to get them off the couch to get them to the store. Your pasta offering is not going to get them off the couch. I need something more. And so from that perspective, category management in the groceries uh, sector really helped me understand how to support my customer.
Mm.
And then as you move that forward, when I got into this space here at Blue Diamond, now I'm focused on, well, what my customers changed, but the results need to be the same. And now, as I oversee the Growers Connect marketplace, and we'll talk a little bit about that, my customer is the grower, the individuals that operate the farms that grow the almonds. And so I'm starting this battle all over again, because I need to understand what's going to get the farmers out to the field. I don't know. That's my new analogy. But category management is going to help me with that. So I just locked in with Google Analytics, because I need to understand where they're going from a traffic standpoint on the marketplace, what items they're looking at, and then I need to understand how to get them to activate and to purchase through the marketplace on the site. So category management is going to be very important in that.
And I want you to dive into that, but I'm wondering if maybe we can take a pause and go back for a second and if you could tell a little bit about the overview of who Blue Diamond is and what you actually are, and then roll please right into that marketplace, because it's one of my favorites.
So Blue Diamond is a 114-year-old cooperative. And what that means is we take the almonds from our farmers and we produce the finest almond milk on the planet, Almond Breeze, and some of the finest snack nuts on the planet. And we also sell almonds to a lot of different countries throughout the world. But we take their almonds and then we pay them for the almonds, and we provide them with the best return for almonds in the industry. 80% of the world's almonds are grown right here in the central California area. And we've got a lion's share of those farmers grow their almonds for Blue Diamond. So the Growers Connect marketplace is which I'm now the business development manager. And again, this is what I love about. I'm going to deviate just for a minute. This is what I love about procurement and sourcing. The company, we decide that we're going to start this Growers Connect marketplace, this GPO, group purchasing organization, and you get tapped on the shoulder, and you don't have any experience in this, but the procurement, sourcing, category management, they're always the ones that are tasked with moving forward with these new projects. And so it's an honor from that perspective. But realistically, our goal is to lower their input cost and to buy as a collective group, to take the size of the cooperative, all of the farmers, and say, how do we purchase fertilizer as a group? How do we provide purchase irrigation equipment as a group to lower the input cost? The farmers have been through fires, droughts, floods, so many different things over the past couple of years. And so Blue Diamond's commitment to them is to help lower the input cost that it costs for them to farm. And that is what I wake up and go to bed thinking about every day, is how do I purchase effectively or negotiate effectively so I can bring goods and services to them to lower their cost. One thing, and I'll just give you just a brief synopsis or snippet of their life. Almond trees take between 5 and 7 years to provide, to mature. So when you look at a good portion of our growers, they're generational farms, but you have to be a generational farm because it takes you that long to get a real return on investment. So think about that from that perspective. To be a farmer, a lot of these folks, their grandparents, their great grandparents had started these farms, and now they're to the point where they're passing on to their children or their grandchildren. But it took that long to get to this point because of the just the maturing of the trees. And so it really is a labor of love. And so I keep that in the back of my mind every day when I'm out negotiating, when I'm trying to lower their input costs, how hard they've worked. And it really motivates me to really negotiate very hard for them because, and a lot of these farms are not large corporate farms. These are small farms, smaller farms, family owned, and they're just trying to make it.
I just want to ask a follow-up question to what Lisa said out of curiosity. How many growers you have in this co-op? And I love that you mentioned that, grandkids and great grandkids will inherit that. And that sounds to me like generational wealth. So how many growers you have in your co-op?
It depends. I would say an average between the 2 to 3,000 family farms. Yeah. So we're
Wow.
one of the larger cooperatives in the farming industry from that perspective. But again, a lot of these farms are, smaller farms, family farms. And, when we talk about inflation, personally, it affects us, obviously.
Sure.
And, but from a farm perspective, there's so many inputs that they need. The war in Russia and Ukraine helped spur a rise in the fertilizer that they use, right? So that was a cost. Of course, fuel prices affect them just like they affect us. And so all of these things, coming in to, uh, I guess, hinder what they're trying to accomplish. And now, as we started out at the beginning of this conversation, the changes in the immigration policy, or I shouldn't say the changes, but this crackdown will again present another challenge that the farmers will have to navigate.
I do have a plug-in for Blue Diamonds. as somebody that has gluten allergies, it is the only crackers that I will eat. They go with absolutely everything, and I absolutely love Blue Diamond crackers.
Okay. Well, I will definitely thank you for that, Maria. I appreciate it. And you need to, uh, after the podcast, send me what your list is, and I would be more than happy to send you a care package to end the support.
Nice.
Dale, you have
Nice.
become my favorite person so far. Thank you.
So I'm going to tell you, when I was out there, Dale was kind enough with, what was that gentleman's name? Oscar, who gave us the wonderful tour.
Yes.
Oscar. Thank you, Oscar. So we had this wonderful tour, and Dale and Oscar walked me through the manufacturing plant,
Oh.
and it was amazing. And first of all, it was Blueberry Day, which as soon as we walked in, you could just, as soon as I got to the neighborhood, I could smell the blueberry. It was fantastic. So, but I think one of the things that I was in awe of, and this is going to be silly from a 30-year veteran in procurement, the idea that you're keeping your eye on every single item inside that building was blowing my mind. Like, it is a completely different industry, manufacturing, right? So I'm, somebody else might be embarrassed to put this out. I just had no experience in it. But when I thought about all of the machinery, all of the people, all of the PPE, all of the packaging, my goodness, the print alone.
It's amazing. And growing up in the grocery industry, I did a lot of manufacturer tours, which was exciting from that perspective. But this operation is different because this building was built, I believe 1929 is when they started it. It used to be a Del Monte plant. And so this building is a historical landmark. So imagine trying to operate a manufacturing site in a building where you have to consult with the city if you need to put up a brick wall again, because the grout has to be a certain way to stay in line with what those requirements are to be a historic site. And so, and then the building is straight up, so 6 stories. I told Lisa about this, and I didn't share it with take her to it, Maria, but there's a man lift, and this man lift is basically a constantly rotating elevator. So it's just taking you up 6 floors, but it's just a plank of wood about yay big, and you just kind of just hang on. It takes you up 6 floors. It never stops, so you have to hop off when you get to your floor. From a procurement professional / risk management person, that device scares me. And I am in close contact with our elevator provider on a consistent basis. And just so happens, as would be apropos for this conversation, our elevator service provider is a diverse supplier. It's a woman-owned company.
Love that.
I would not allow her to work on our equipment, especially equipment like that, if she was not qualified, if her company was not qualified. I should
There
say.
you go. There you
Right?
go. Yes.
Because there are crazy people hopping on this thing and going up 6 stories.
That is hysterical.
So, great example of supplier diversity in action on a daily basis. But it was great having you out. I love to see the look of individuals' faces when I take them on a tour, and because I get to see the manufacturing world through their eyes, because it's not something that you see every day. And then when you do see it, you really appreciate all that goes into the production of the final product, and what it takes, and the level of ingenuity and manpower. It's just really exciting. So I was just as excited as she was, Maria, and I open up the invitation to you as well. I will. I've got a hairnet and a hard hat.
Well, you're gonna have to make that too, because my grandson doesn't want me to leave him behind anywhere. So wherever I go, he comes.
Bring Bring him. Bring him. We're good. We got him.
As we move into closing this wonderful conversation, I want to ask you about trends, right? I want to know, looking ahead, what trends do you foresee in the almond industry, right? And how is Blue Diamond preparing to face these trends?
The trends for almonds is looking to find additional ways for our organization to market them into other areas. Uh, so much has been, there's been so much focus around using the complete product and using it in all types of manners so that we reduce waste. We've got a brilliant sustainability director of sustainability, Dr. Dan, working with us on sustainability. We are working to help farmers grow sustainable crops to to uh, to really support bee health. So I think the trends as we move forward is to continue to help the growers with their yield, but to bring safer, uh, more sustainable practices to our space. And I think that's what's most exciting about what we're doing. Dan Sankey is really looking to expand and support the environmental aspect of almond farming, and that includes water usage, all types of things, to be good stewards of the land. And that's what I'm most excited about. And quite honestly, Maria, I will tell you, I don't think it's necessarily a trend for Blue Diamond. I think it's something that, as an organization, we've committed to, right? That we've got to be good stewards to our land. We all see what the effects of our lack of respect, I would say, for our environment has caused. And so I think the fact that this organization is continuing to be good stewards is important. It's not a trend; it's a commitment that this organization and the CEO has will continue to work on and push forward.
That's wonderful. That's absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for that
That's amazing.
answer.
I'm just have a kind of a thought of what is the out. So almond comes in an outside kind of shell, right? What is that outside shell? What are some of the fun things that you can use those for?
It just depends. I know, and again, I'm not the expert here, but I do know that it is used for feed, but it's also used for in certain applications for cosmetics to make different types of powders and things of that nature.
Okay.
Several years back, we worked with some UC Davis MBA students to help us understand what we could do to ensure that we utilize the entire almond. I'm not privy to what those results came out, but I got to sit in on their final presentations, and it was exciting that these young people had put together some incredible ways to support the use of the entire almond. And but that the cosmetics stuck in my head because I know that was what the husk that they were planning on using the husk for in that application.
That's very cool. I'm glad we got innovation in. I mean, it was under the wire, but I feel like we, right? Because innovation, again, very important in the overall ESG model, right? In how you're handling, working with suppliers, diverse suppliers, small businesses, is seeking out that innovation, and that's really where it comes from. So I'm so happy to hear it came from college students, so that's terrific. Yeah,
Yeah,
neat.
great. Our future agricultural
Nice.
almond farmers of the future. So it was nice.
That's wonderful. Oh,
I have a group of friends that are in the mental health industry, and I always like to ask our guests, what tools do you have to deal with those days that things are not going right? How do you deal with the pressure? How do you deal with everything that life throws at you in those days?
Yeah, that's a great question. I will tell you, for me personally, as I mentioned, I'm an avid reader, so reading helps take me away. But every day, for 30 minutes, regardless of what I'm doing, how busy my day is, I go for a walk. And I walk rain or shine. I know people look at me when it's really stormy here, like, who is this crazy guy? But I put those headphones in and I either listen to music or whatever book I'm listening to at that time. But every day I go for a walk for 30 minutes and I have a set time where I get up and I go. And if that time doesn't work out, if something comes up, a meeting, then I make time later in the day. But every day, I think that is so important for your mental health, for your sanity, because uh, as we all know, this role, everyone counts on you, everyone depends on you. You're always the resource. You always have the answers, and everyone comes to you with questions and concerns. And sometimes you're not that person, but I find a lot of times I end up helping them get to where they need to get because that's just who we are as individuals from a procurement sourcing standpoint. So Maria, I will tell you that walk for me is very important, and I do it every single day.
Same here. I find that my half an hour that I take walking, I solve all the problems of the world, mine's and everybody else's.
I love it. I'm gonna send you a list of problems you can solve.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, you're on.
Dale, this was been amazing, and I adore you and would love for you to be on our podcast and talk to you every single day. So, are there things that you were hoping that we were going to talk about that we didn't hit on today, or?
No, I just want to say thank you. I really do. I'm not a big podcaster, and I'm not because a lot of times people just talk about problems, right? It's just kind of a discussion, and I feel like you two ladies are not just talking. You're helping us to solve
Oh,
some of those
thank
issues,
you.
right? It's
Thank you.
not just
Thank you.
about discussing or regurgitating what the problems are. We know what they are,
That's right.
but this podcast, the little podcast that could, is designed to help people with to make decisions and to head in a different direction. And I think that is so important and that is so beautiful. And that's all I want. I want to say thank you for having me. Um, this has been a blessing and a half. So that's it. I want to leave your audience with a thank you for you two ladies and for the heavy lifting that you're doing to make this world a better place.
Thank you so much, Dale.
Thank you.
Thank
Oh my
you.
God, that's beautiful. Thank you so much.
We're going to play that every time at the end. of
We
each
are,
show.
we are, and I know that that's a message you wanted to leave everyone with. But there's a younger generation that listens to our podcast, and we're trying to reach more. What message would you leave us with to those that want to go into the field of, supplier diversity or supply chain? What would be your advice to them?
Listen, if you're looking for a role that's going to challenge you every day, if you were looking for a role that's going to be different every day, that no 2 days will be the same. If you're looking for a role where you are a trusted advisor, where people count on you and people look at you and your voice and it holds merit and holds weight, then this is the space for you. If you enjoy negotiating, if you enjoy um, communication, if you enjoy putting your best foot forward every day and challenging yourself, then this is the role for you. And that's what I would tell young people. It doesn't seem as exciting and as glamorous as some things, but I will tell you, every day is a different day. Every day is a different challenge. And every day I have to be prepared to meet that challenge. And from that perspective, that is exciting. Negotiating something that I've never negotiated before, setting up an RFP that I've never for something I've never heard of. The excitement and challenge comes in so many different ways. And I know from the outside, we've gotten this, people look at us and think we just sit and buy things all day. Oh my goodness. Some days you would take that in a heartbeat,
That's
wouldn't
right.
you?
That's
You would just say, if I could just sit and buy things, that would be, just punch data into a computer. No, this job offers so many challenges from a personal perspective that will help you grow and challenge yourself and to learn. For me, yeah, this is for young people coming forward. I think they really need to stop and take a look at this space because it is exciting, and the challenges are going to continue, but the growth is going to continue as well. We will always be important in the world of business.
That is
Always.
a lovely, lovely message. Thank you so much. I hope that those that haven't decided which way they're going to go in college, that they go this way, because we need more people that are driven and love working with people, because that's the bulk of it, right? And with that, thank you so much, Mr. Dale Harmon. It has been a true pleasure meeting you and having this opportunity to learn about what it is that you do.
Thank you so much, Dale. And I will talk to you every week, forever.
I appreciate you.
As always, I like to leave our audience with this message. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to bring different topics to you. And I always read the same quote. Again, my grandson always asks me, how come you haven't memorized it? I don't want to. So let's continue to amplify diverse voices and foster meaningful dialogues. Until then, this is Maria. Thank you for listening.
And I'm Lisa, and we're the Diversity Duo. We'll see you again next week. Thanks. Yay. Oh, my God, Dale.
This is so great, Dale. Thank you so much.
No, thank you too. This is just, oh my God. This is like, I'm in podcast heaven.